The Wise Old Woman and the Secret to Happiness. In a small village, there was an elderly lady. She was very old, with gray hair and a face full of wrinkles, but her eyes were narrow and full of hope. Everyone in the village loved her because she was always happy, even when life was difficult. She lived alone in a small house near the big fig tree. She had no children and her husband passed away many years ago. But she never complained. She sat under the tree talking to people and always smiled. In the village, people worked hard, some were farmers, and other people sold at the market. Sometimes the rain didn't come and the plants dried up. Sometimes people got sick and couldn't work. Life wasn't easy and many residents were sad or worried. One day, a young girl named Olga came to her. Olga was crying. She said, "I don't know what to do. My husband went to the city to look for work, but he didn't send any money. My children are hungry and I'm scared." The old lady looked at Olga and invited. "Sit here, my dear," she said. "What do you think will happen, Olga, in 30 years? "I don't know. I feel like bad things will happen, and if my husband doesn't get a job, he will forget about us." The old woman shook her head gently. "Olga, when we have bad thoughts, we feel bad, but if we have good thoughts, we feel good and good things happen. But how can I think good thoughts when everything is so bad?" The old lady smiled and said, "Let me tell you a story. Once there was a poor man who had nothing. He had no food, no money, and no family. He sat on the riverbank crying. An old woman came to him and asked, 'Why are you crying?' The man said, 'I have nothing. How can I be happy?' The old woman smiled and said, 'You have the river. You have the trees. You have the sun. Look around you. There is beauty and light everywhere. If you think about what you don't have, you will always be sad. But if you think about what you have, you will find peace.' The man listened, and little by little he stopped crying and began to see good things around him, and from that day on his life began to change. The old woman looked at Olga and said, 'You see, my dear, the man's life didn't change because of magic. It changed because he changed his thinking. When we think positively, our heart becomes lighter and we can see problems better.'" Olga thought about this story and said, "My thinking will really change my life." She smiled gently and said, "Yes, if you wake up every morning and tell yourself that today will be a good day, you will find the strength to work, to take care of your children and wait for your husband with hope. If you just think about what could go wrong, you will feel sad and weak." Olga said, "I understand. I'll try to have good thoughts from now on. That's the first step." She left the old lady's house with a lighter heart, and every day she remembered her words. When she woke up, she said to herself, "Today we will have a good day." She worked, took care of her children, and prayed for her husband's return. After a few weeks, Olga received a letter from her husband. He found a job in the city and was sending money home. Olga was very happy and went to the lady's house to share the news. The old lady spoke and said, "You see, my dear, when we think positive, we invite good things into our life. Problems will always come. But if we face them with a hopeful heart, we can overcome them." Other residents came to hear about the old lady with wise words, and many people came to her and shared their problems. The old lady gave the same advice, have good thoughts, and the village loved her even more because her words changed their lives. She taught the power of thought positive.